Hey guys, it's Kevin Gessner for Penny Dreadful, Season 2, Episode 7, Little Scorpion. And again, guys, a fantastic episode, as usual. I mean, Penny Dreadful has yet to have a bad episode. And this episode was amazing. It really was. I mean, wow, this episode was really big. It went from a really small bottle episode to a really important episode, honestly. This episode's really important, and I'm definitely very interested in seeing where the episode goes from here. I will admit that last week's episode I did think was a little bit better. I still love this week's episode. I thought this was a fantastic episode, and I definitely really loved it. I really did. I mean, something I'm just loving that they're doing this season is just in having people interact with different characters and just building the episode around that. This episode mainly built around Vanessa and Ethan interacting, and I thought that was really good. I definitely really loved that. I mean, there were other things that happened. This wasn't a complete bottle episode, but for the most part, it was, and I really liked that, which I thought was really good. But let's get to this episode because a lot happened. There's a lot to talk about, and I can't wait for these last 3 episodes. They are going to be amazing. Really, they are. And increasing it from 8 to 10, I think, was the best thing to do. Honestly, it was. So, after seeing Ethan change into a werewolf, as we know, of course, at the end of last week's episode, we saw, Sembene saw Ethan change into a werewolf, and he's up and out of his chair, and while Ethan's back to normal, he tells Ethan things become other things, and the leopard consumes. He kind of goes on this whole speech about how the leopard consumes the monkey and becomes leopard and monkey. The crocodile consumes the leopard and becomes crocodile and leopard and monkey. And he tells him he has seen this. The shamans in his mountains call it Ukaiwe Macabadilico. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right, but I think that's how you pronounce it. Which is the changing from one skin into another. So the cursed one can barely remember it. And he asks if this is sickness or something else or blessing, which he feels it is a blessing. And he, basically, he said it's a purpose of which he can't yet see. And he says the latter. He sees it in him past all the other creatures, including the wolf, and Ethan says to tell him what he saw, and I thought it was a great way to start the episode. I definitely really loved that, because one of the things I definitely think I was most looking forward to in this episode was just seeing Sembene's reaction to how he overcame seeing Ethan turn into a werewolf, and now we can see why he wasn't that disturbed by it, because he's seen it before. He knows what Ethan's becoming, and I really thought that was a really good scene. I definitely really love that. Again, I love that they're actually giving Sembene really good stuff this season. He's not just a background character. He actually does have some very important stuff, which I thought was really good. Even though he kind of is like Lyle, where he just tells them information, he is a very important character. Without him, Ethan would not understand what's going on. I really did like that. So, Vanessa's awake after her collapsing, and Malcolm pretty much thinks that this was because of female hysteria. And she tells him whatever it was not that, and Malcolm asks what it was, and of course, he still is under the spell that Evelyn has placed him under, where he doesn't really have emotions, he's just happy all the time, and they definitely start to notice that something is wrong in this episode, which I thought was really good. Some people are saying that they're not handling this right. I think the reason, just because Vanessa doesn't want to think something's wrong, and she actually does have a very good explanation, which I think does make a lot of sense, and I definitely really like that. So Ethan says she's in danger, and she sensed it, and she says she was on her way to say goodnight to Victor, and she felt like she was being surrounded, so she couldn't breathe, and she doesn't know who it was. So even though she saw Hecate, I don't think she was thinking that Hecate was the one that did this to her. So Malcolm says he finds it difficult to believe, and Victor questions him on this and says he feels the room was crowded and she became overstimulated. And it's really a bunch of bullshit. Really, it is. I mean, what he's saying, it's complete bullshit. And she says she needs to go and leave London because London really just isn't safe for her right now. She needs to go somewhere else. And Ethan agrees to leave with her, and Lyle says it's a good idea. And she tells me, and I'm just like, there's no way she's actually leaving, because Vanessa's not one to, and Victor points this out, Vanessa's not one to run and hide. She's not one to do that. I mean, this is Vanessa Eyes we're talking about. She is a very powerful, strong woman. I mean, she would not just run and hide. So she definitely has more of a plan. We'll get to what it is when we get to that scene. But basically, she tells Malcolm she won't be kept a prisoner of this house. She's not going to listen to what he says. Just because he tells her something doesn't mean she necessarily has to listen to him, which is true. And Lyle says she must not tell them where she's going, just go, which I think is the safe thing to do. And Malcolm says this company is safe, because obviously what's safe is being away from them. They're the ones that are not making her safe right now. Malcolm's not making her safe. Victor's not making her safe. They need to figure out what's going on. She needs to be away from them. So I thought that was really good. So Victor says it's not safe and that Lyle is right. Tell no one. Malcolm says they're not allowed to trust each other. He asks why she would trust Ethan and not him. And I like what Victor says because he wasn't there. He was in the room with her, and yet the lion still hunted. He didn't try to stop it. He didn't try to do anything about it. I mean, this is Malcolm we're talking about. Ethan has, been there for her, and that's why she trusts him because Malcolm hasn't really been there for her. So Ethan says they're leaving immediately, and Vanessa asks to talk to Victor and I like that she talks to him because she says she wants to tell him alone where she plans to go. She says he is the only person she really trusts right now. I mean, and that's understandable. I mean, she can't trust Malcolm. Lyle, she never really had that much of a bond with. Ethan, she definitely does get more of a bond with in this episode. For right now, Victor and Vanessa really are the best of friends. And I love their friendship, honestly. One of the best things they've done this season is get these two to be closer. Every scene they have, I just love. I really do. I mean, again, Eva Green's such a great actress that she really has great chemistry with everybody on this show. I said it before, but she does. I mean, you give her a scene with Victor, and I'd love it just as much as the scene with John. That's really how good this season is, and I like they're really taking advantage of that with Vanessa's character. They're really giving her new interactions with characters. I thought that was really good in this episode. Just like they utilized her relationship with Victor in episode 5, they really utilized her and Ethan in this episode. For right here, they utilize her and Victor, but for most of the episode, it's her and Ethan. So basically, she says she wants to tell him where she plans to go, and he says he knows she's up to something since she's not one to run and hide, like I said. And she says she basically is running at, basically they've been running at Spectre. She's going to find a better weapon, and she says while she's gone, he needs to be mindful of Malcolm. He's losing his heart and needs their care. That's really what she feels is going on. And if he needs her, don't hesitate. And she also says he needs to be more patient with Lilly. Everything is so new to her, London and all the bright, shiny colors. She will eventually grow tired of them. And Victor says it's very kind, but what if it doesn't? But what if she doesn't? And basically she tells him that and I like what she told him. I thought that was really good. So basically they prepare to leave. They pack up everything and go to the Cutwife's house. Ethan asks where he should go because of course, sleeping conditions. And he says he felt like he belonged there. She says maybe she belongs there. She says she doesn't know if she made for company. If she made for company, she thinks she's made something like the Moors. And she talks about how the Cutwife calls her the little scorpion, and it's actually a really sweet scene. I really like them talking about the Cutwife and seeing the experience she had with her, because I knew eventually this was gonna come into play. I mean, obviously we didn't get that whole flashback episode for nothing. I knew we were gonna get back to this, and I love that we got back to this in this episode. I thought that was really good. So basically, she only said her name once before she was murdered, tied to trees. She says she's never liked trees ever since. She thanks him and goes upstairs. So she sees a bookshelf upstairs containing the book the Cutwife told her about, of course, that really powerful book, and I thought that was really interesting, because, of course, the big cliffhanger in that episode was what is she going to do with that book? Is she going to use that book? So I was wondering if she was going to in this episode. I mean, especially when she saw that book, I'm like, she's probably going to use it. That's probably what she's going to do. So she talks to Ethan and he tells him for years Malcolm and her have had a very private relationship. She enjoys it and Evelyn threatens it because, and I thought this was really interesting what she said. Of course, she doesn't suspect Evelyn of doing anything wrong, but she says she made him lose his anger. The resentment and rage is what they shared the most. And he says she still is the closest to family he has left, which is true. And she says she doesn't feel like he cares much because he didn't attend his wife's funeral, which demonstrates his allegiance to his family. And he said it might have been too painful for him, which she says it's because he's in love. He doesn't want to face any tragedy, and why should she make him suffer just to retain her unique bond with him? She says it's selfish, and he should let him be happy. Basically, he says they should let him be happy. So I thought that was a really good scene. I definitely really like that they talked about that, because honestly, her explanation is really good. Even though she doesn't know what's going on with Malcolm, what she thinks is going on, I think that's a, valid explanation. I thought that was really good. So, she talks about wood betony, how it attracts bees to honey and prevents nightmares, and he says when he was with Brona, he was more content than he ever thought he could be for once in his life. He didn't feel like running away. He felt he had a place to belong, and she says she was his solitude in many ways, and he says Malcolm is looking for where he belongs now without Mina or her, and when he comes around, he won't forget about her, which I kind of feel like that is sort of what's going on, but of course we know that Evelyn put him under this spell. We know that's really is what's going on, so I think I think that that definitely is what's going on there. So she goes into a bush and makes a rabbit spear, which Ethan's surprised about. He says he didn't know she was so handy. He says she's going to make someone a great little wifey one day. He tells her a story about his father, and I thought it was a really sweet scene. I really like the scene where, he tells her about his greatest fear, and they start talking about fear, and she tells him that she was fearless until she admits that her fear is actually dolls, and that's very understandable why Evelyn is creating these, voodoo dolls, because obviously that's her greatest fear, and I don't know if Evelyn necessarily knows that, but now that we know that, I kind of feel like that's what's going on here. Because, I mean, Evelyn's known Vanessa much longer than she thinks she has, so who knows how long she's really known her. So he tells her he agrees with toy soldiers, all the things that mark you when you're young that make you what you are. He says they just wait, and I thought this was a great scene. This really sums up this season for these two characters. He talks about the monsters inside them. He asks what she would call them, and she says they're demons, but one word is much like another. When they're released, they're most who they are, and I thought that was a really great scene. Because, I mean, the theme of this season really is letting your inner demons out and just being yourself. I mean, for Vanessa, it's these demons that are inside her, the devil that's inside her. And for Ethan, it's the werewolf. He doesn't know what's going on, but they know that they're going to come out, and they need to let them out. So I thought that was a really great scene. I definitely really loved that. And basically, this gets him to basically tell her that, he needs to go because he's going to transform to werewolf, and of course she doesn't know that, so he tells her to bolt the door when he gets out, and he asks if she knows how to shoot, and she says no. He says he'll teach her. He asks when he'll be back, but he says in the morning. He prepares to transform, very quickly does, and Vanessa wakes up to Ethan chopping down a tree, and again we see that he really can't control his transformation at this point. I feel like now he's not really going to be able to control when this can happen. So Vanessa wakes up to Ethan chopping down a tree. She asks if he wants breakfast, and she demands him to tell her why he left. She tells him to whisper it to her, and he says she needs him. Now, he very quickly changed the subject. He talks about how she needs to learn how to protect herself. That's what he's concerned about. He's not concerned about her finding out, which I'm pretty sure she's going to find out, but in the wrong way. She's going to catch him when he is, basically transforming, and it's going to be terrible. Really, I feel like that's what's going to happen, and we'll have to see. So he takes her to a shooting range, and we see right away that she's really bad. Like, she's really bad at shooting, and she says she thought it just came naturally, and he talks to her how to get better. She says she should teach him something in return, and he says whatever she has in mind, and eventually he brings up dancing, because he actually never learned dancing, and it's actually one of the best parts of the episode, in my opinion, was her teaching him how to dance. I really like that. I mean, she just did it with Victor, and now we actually see this really great montage of them practicing shooting some more. She then teach him how to dance, and he starts to get the hang of it. She makes soup for them. He's chopping down more trees. It probably is my favorite scene in the episode, honestly. I love this scene. She finds him practicing outside, learning how to dance. It's the best stuff we've had, I think, for Ethan and Vanessa, really. I loved it. And in the middle of dancing, the door opens, a wild thunderstorm starts, but she loves storms. She doesn't care. She loves storms, and every bit of civilization, and I like what she says, that every bit of civilization is gone, every bit of truth is coming out. That really is true when storms, happen. He says, let it, and then he doesn't fear it. And she says this must be how the world was created or how it ends. And a fire starts in the farm. He tells her to get water. After putting out the fire, he goes up to Vanessa and kisses her, but she pulls away and tells him that they are dangerous, and she just can't be with him right now. She knows how dangerous they are. She knows what this could do, and she doesn't want to do that. So he goes outside to the storm. He definitely is very distraught over what happened, and I felt really bad for him, honestly. You can see that he clearly does have feelings for Vanessa, but she just doesn't really want to be in a relationship with him right now. Probably because of the fact that she just is very worried about, what's going to happen to them if they start this. So Victor has this great speech about what love is and what does it bring us but confusion. He says the Egyptians were hardly experts in that, and Lyle says to them it was literal. They called it the scorpion sting, the kind that had no end or time or death. According to them, if they were to become conjoined, all life would end and the world would live in darkness. The hidden ones would emerge, and Victor says it goes well beyond Vanessa, and Lyle says in literal terms it's the coming of the beast. They talk about the different creatures, demon, vampire, and the creature's name is Legion. He seeks his bride, who he believes to be is Vanessa, and she loves him in her way, and This very much reminded me of what's going on with John right now, because of course John wants to be with Lilly, but Lilly doesn't really like him right now, but I feel like she is going to get feelings from him eventually. We'll have to see what happens there. Especially with this scene, I feel like that really is foreshadowing how, John feels for Lilly. That really is how I feel about that. So I think that was really interesting as well. So Vanessa and Ethan walk through the woods. He tells her that Lyle won't give up. They won't let this thing hurt her. And she says they need to call it what it is. It is the devil. And she says sometimes she just wants to let it take her, to put an end to it, and she would know why this unending torment is happening. And she says she can't live forever violated. When she sleeps, when she wakes, when she prays the demons, it tries to come out, and she's tired of it. And once she even begged him once to put a bullet through her heart, but he was too kind to do it, and he says she will not surrender while he lives. If he has one goddamn purpose in life, that's it. And I thought that was really interesting. So she asks if he thinks about, this I thought was a really interesting question. She asks what it would be like if they were normal people, and he says he doesn't want to think like that because they're not normal people. They just have to live the way they are. I feel like Vanessa just doesn't want to be this way, but Ethan is more of, what, we have to do we basically get what we deserve, and we have to be what we have. And basically Vanessa wants to change things while Ethan isn't that way. Really shows the difference between these two, which I thought was really good in this episode. Something I definitely really enjoyed. So they then see Sir Geoffrey, and oh my god, this was huge, because he's threatening them with, like, the dogs and everything. He thinks Vanessa's the devil, of course, because of what Evelyn convinced him about the cut wife. He's after Vanessa, and Vanessa just wants revenge immediately. She says she swore one day that she would see him again and he'd be avenged. He says she doesn't need his soul on her conscience, and she says she can live with the guilt. And Ethan's, telling her that she can't. That's not who she is, and she says it is. She says he needs to see her for who she is. He asks if that's what her friends would want. One more step into darkness just for a memory. And of course, she doesn't realize that this only happened because of what happened to Malcolm. And I predicted that this was going to happen, to Malcolm. So really what's going on with Malcolm is exactly what happened to Sir Geoffrey. That's the only thing she doesn't realize. And of course, she hasn't comprehended this yet. So when she finds this out, she is going to be really upset about what happens to Sir Geoffrey, which I'll talk about. But basically, he tells her she plans to kill him. She won't be able to stop. She says she will stop when his soul is burning like hers was. He tells her he sees her for exactly what she is, and I thought that was really interesting. So Lilly asks Victor if he wants her to have friends, and of course this was what Vanessa said to Victor, to let Lilly have a life. And I do agree with Vanessa saying that, and finally we get to see that come into play here. So basically, she asks Victor if he wants her to have friends, and he says, of course. She asks if he likes Dorian, and he says it's not that. She says she can't stay cooped up in the house all the time. He tells her to go, and she'll have a great time. Dorian will be a great companion. She says if he tells her not to go, she won't. He tells her she should go. She says she will come back with stories for him and kisses him on the cheek. So she walks with Dorian and tells him that she was surprised to get his invitation. It's actually a really sweet scene because, of course, Lilly really hasn't gotten to see anything. I mean, she hasn't gotten to, experience London, and I like that Victor told her, you know what, no restrictions. I'm going to let you do what you want, because she is a grown woman. She's not this little girl, he can't keep toddling her around. Although, he needs to be careful, definitely. What she does in this episode, he definitely needs to be careful with her. So, we'll talk about that, but basically, she walks with Dorian and tells him she was surprised to get his invitation. He asks what choice, and it was, she says, Victor's protective, and he says she doesn't need much protection. He believes she's more capable than Victor thinks she is, which is true. I agree with that. So they approach this Waxworth museum, and she doesn't like it, and he tells her she's mysterious. He enjoys the coolness of her touch, her wondering discovery, but mostly her eyes. They approach, these different Waxworth models, and they eventually come across Burke and Hare. Now, if you guys know Burke and Hare, they, of course, killed this woman and gave her to a scientist who basically had some kind of experimentation, and this is really interesting because, of course, this is what happened to Lilly, aka Brona, and she doesn't realize that. Now you can see that I definitely feel her memories are starting to come back to her, which I think is really interesting, and they have to do whatever they can to make sure this doesn't happen, because if Lilly goes back to her Brona persona, that's not going to be good at all for Victor. I mean, it's all going to backfire, and it's all going to suck, and I really feel like that's going to happen, and we'll have to see what happens there, I guess. I definitely feel like that's a possibility, though. So, basically, Dorian says he couldn't say. John is there as well, and he looks very jealous, honestly. You see the look on his face, because this is his bride. This is the woman he wanted to be with, and at first she's with Victor, now she's with Dorian. He's going after Dorian. We see in next week's promo, he beats the shit out of Dorian. He's like, that's my girl, and I can't wait to see that, because that honestly is very well done. I love that storyline with John, honestly. And I think eventually he's gonna realize that, honestly, I feel like John's better than Lilly, honestly. He's happy, I think he's fine with Lavina. Lavina, of course, knows his secret, but I feel like when Lavina, Lavina's starting to put things together, but I feel like eventually Lavina will love him, and I feel like that whole thing's gonna backfire, but we'll have to see what happens with John, honestly. I really don't know. This is one of those shows where you really can't predict what's gonna happen, so I really like that. So, Dorian says he hoped he enchanted her. She says she had a great time. He tells her London is filled with new adventures and he'd like to do it again sometime. She said that would be great, but she has to go now. And he tells her she's a breath of fresh air, and she says it's good to have a new friend. And I thought it was a really sweet scene. Again, just two characters interacting. I love it. And they're two new characters that we haven't seen. I mean, we've seen Brona and Dorian interact, but not Lilly and Dorian. It's different. And they bid each other good day, and he tells her the driver where to go. And basically, Vanessa then decides to pick up the book while Ethan is outside. I'm like, I knew she was going to pick it up. I knew she was going to do something with that. So she opens it up. She starts chanting a demonic language. Geoffrey's out. This is such an intense scene. I love the way they did this scene. It was very well done. Geoffrey's outside with his dogs, and Ethan's about to... You see Ethan. He's about to kill him. He's about to shoot him because he knows that's what Vanessa wants. And this very much goes with what Lyle and Victor were talking about with what was the with Legion. I'm pretty sure Ethan is a Legion, that he loves Vanessa and will do anything to be with her, and she does love him, but not in the way he loves her. That's really how I feel about it. So, she's chanting some more, and Ethan Morton's going to Geoffrey. His dogs start ripping him apart to shreds, and this is all the work of Vanessa. It's an incredible scene. I mean, he's just staying there, and the dog's like, roar, 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 roar. Like, they're just ripping him apart, and it's crazy. They eat him till he's dead, and Vanessa finishes chanting in pants, and that by far has to be the most graphic scene we have ever seen I mean, that's by far one of the most graphic scenes of the show. I mean, it was incredible, it really was, but wow, I did not think Vanessa was going to go that far. I mean, he was just going to shoot him, but he was mutilated by his dogs. It's insane, and Ethan knows that Vanessa did this. She knows that, he of course knows what she did, and I really like that. So, Lily's in the carriage, and this scene also was crazy. She tells the driver to stop. She goes into a very crowded bar. A guy comes up to her, and he just starts making a pass at her, but she goes with it. They start having sex in the middle of it. She chokes him until he's dead, and I'm pretty sure because she is a bride and she was made this way, that she's not going to let anyone have sex with her but Victor. That's how this is going to be, is that she's only going to be with Victor. She's only going to have sex with Victor, and that was actually really incredible to see because, of course, she is a monster. She's not a human, and we finally get to see this monstrous persona come out. I mean, even though Lilly has human qualities, she is a monster. She's not human. That's why she has cold skin. Victor made her this way, and I feel like one of the side effects is that she's only going to be with Victor and only wants to have sex with Victor, and anyone else she just kills because she doesn't feel she's doing the right thing. And we see next week that she even talks about this to Victor. So I'm definitely interested in seeing where that's going to go, because that was really interesting. I did not see that coming at all, but that was really well done, I have to say. I really love that development with Lilly. So Ethan goes back to the cabin and finds Vanessa there. She says he was going to kill him, but he said he didn't get the chance, but he guesses she knows that. She asks if she feels better now that she's a murderess, and he says he supposes she feels better from the cut wife, and he says she does belong there, and he keeps calling her a little girl. And in some ways, I do understand what he's saying. She says that she knows what she's done, and he says she's a scared little girl. He asks if she knows what it's like to have someone's body tied around your neck for the rest of your goddamn life. He tells her all about the first time it's hard, the second time's easier, and the third time you really don't even care. You don't blink, you don't even care anymore, you're alive and they're dead. And she's just like, shut up, I don't care what you say. She doesn't believe him, and he basically tells her that she will never get her, and she will never get her soul back ever, and asks if she understands, and she says yes. He welcomes her to the night. He sighs. He looks very worried, and that's how the episode ends. So let me talk about what I really think he's trying to say to her. He's basically saying to her that one kill is going to lead her to another kill, and another kill, and another kill, and Ethan, of course, is subject to that. He knows what he's under now. He's under a murder case. Inspector Rusk is after him. He's about to be, he's gonna be, he's having threats to go back to America. He wants to kill Roper. I mean, he knows what he's done. He knows the damage that he's caused, and he doesn't want Vanessa to go through that same thing, and I think that's really well done the way they're handling it. Definitely, I really do love that. I do personally feel he loves Vanessa. I do. I mean, he tried to kiss her. He tried to be with her. I definitely feel like he has feelings for Vanessa, but he just doesn't really know how to pursue them right now. So we'll have to see what happens there. I don't really know. Right now, she does not need a relationship. I'll say it right now. The one thing that Vanessa does not need, there's a lot more things that should be on her mind besides the relationship. We can tell that that is not on her mind right now, and that's understandable. I mean, think of what she's going through. She's going through a lot of shit, and you can understand why. Um, Victor and Lyle, what they talked about, I definitely feel like has to do with Ethan, but also kind of has to do with John. John is definitely going after Dorian. After seeing Dorian with Lilly, that's going to be insane next week. Does Lilly have genuine feelings for John? I'm not sure. We'll have to see what happens there. I feel like she sort of does, but definitely her heart belongs to Victor. That really is what we saw in this episode. Or Dorian. I mean, why did she just choke that guy? We're not really sure right now. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. I mean, he just made a pass to her and she started having sex with him. He didn't, start it. She started it, so we'll have to see what happens there. I mean, that's really interesting. But, I really want to talk about what happened with Sir Geoffrey. What's going to happen there? Also, look, I think Malcolm's going to find out the truth about Evelyn next week because we see he goes to confront her, and next week's episode is all about Malcolm. Is Malcolm going to find out what Evelyn did to him? And is this going to get Vanessa to find out what Evelyn did to Geoffrey? Because obviously, Geoffrey, the only reason he thought that, the cut wave was as bad as she was because, of course, Evelyn put him under that spell. So I definitely feel like she's going to find out that as well. Is she going to find out that Evelyn's the cause of all this? Because she doesn't realize that yet. She doesn't realize that Evelyn's been the one that's been doing all this. And I think definitely now is the time for her to realize, and we'll have to see where that goes as well. Because I'm definitely seeing where that's going to go. Dorian. Is Dorian going to, try to be with Lilly? I definitely feel like that's going to be a possibility. We'll have to see what happens there as well, because I think that's really interesting. And Sembene. I like seeing Sembene tell Ethan really who he is. Do you think Ethan's kind of unsure who he is right now? I think that is kind of interesting to see that whole development. I definitely really like that. I think that's really well done. I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going on there. And also, I definitely feel like Lyle is going to stop working for Evelyn really soon. Definitely that's going to stop happening. We'll have to see what happens there. We have 3 episodes left. I have no idea what's going to happen in these next 3 episodes, but I am definitely looking forward to them. This season is just getting better and better as it goes on, and I absolutely love it. I love this episode. I love how it went from a really quiet, fun episode to a really dark and crazy episode. I mean, we're hinting at Vanessa becoming a killer. There's that. There's Lilly, of course, choking that guy. I mean, there's some really fucked up shit happening in this episode, but it was all really well done. I'll have to say that. I definitely really loved it. I thought this was a great episode. Definitely one of the best episodes of the season by far, and I will see you guys, but that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.